Yeah, hi guys. Just a confirmation before I start. So, am I audible and the screen is visible? Sorry. Yeah, I can see that you guys already have a lot of questions over here. So, do not worry, guys. So that's why we have kept this workshop. So, yeah, we'll answer all your questions. Shanmugapriya, Sudarshan, Soumitra. Yeah. So we will answer all the questions. Can you guys just give me a confirmation if I'm adequately audible? Right. So I think the audio check is good enough. Cool. So let's start what we had planned for. So the interview is specific to GenC interview of Cognizant. Interviews might not be rescheduled, so please keep checking your mail. You can have it in the 3 intervals probably in the entire day. So you can keep checking one early in the morning, probably in between the day, and one when you go back to sleep. Right. So there will be no huddle for the next day when it comes. So that's about it. So if you have not got the interview dates or if you have not got your results out, do not panic about it. So it is happening slowly in a steady fashion. So it will definitely happen. All right. So that to answer the questions which were posted before the live was the stream was live. So I hope I've answered your questions, everybody over there. So some of the questions over here are. How can I apply? Okay, so assessments are already done. So I don't think now you'll be able to apply, Anusha. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, Kushwant, fine. Right, so cool. Right, so we'll start with the so the agenda basically is to give you a heads up on what probably will be asked for you and what were the things that they had concentrated on. So let's try talking about that. Then I'll also try answering the questions whatever you guys have. Right. So first up, according to the analysis, what we have done related to the interviews that had already happened, there were certain things which I wanted to stress. All right. So first up is documents. So here you would be required to have two main documents. So first would be your resume. All right. So second would be your government ID proof. So any government ID proof will suffice. So be it your Aadhaar card or anything that's a government ID proof will suffice. But please make sure that you have two forms of this. Okay, so two forms as in both digitized form and the the physical form of it, right? So so that in case you're not able to attach this document in the day of the interview, you'll be able to at least show it, spot it through the camera to the panelist. All right. So I'm requesting you to have both the forms, both the copies, that both the digitized copy and the physical copy with you. All right. So the next thing is the panelist. So most of the people will ask like, okay, how many panelists will be there to ask the questions? So most of the cases there were only one panelist, but there have been cases where there are two panelists. Okay, so maximum there will be two panelists for your drives, so not more than that. So you can either have one panelist and two panelists, and both technical and HR questions will be asked by these panelists, whoever they are. Okay, even if there is one panelist, he'll be asking both the questions, tech and HR. Even if there are two panelists, that'll be a combined round over there. All right, so that's about that. Can I change the CV during the interview? So to answer that question, most of you might be having this question. See, if you would like to do certain changes, I would definitely be okay with that. But I would not advise you to make big changes, right? So, for example, in the previous CV, if you would have already had Python written in it, if you change the new updated CV where you do not have a Python, so it would be like you're lying to the company people out there, right? So please make sure that you do not do any large changes. So no, minuscule changes would be fine. Passport and all is not required. So that's what I told you. So any government ID proof is sufficient. So whichever you have, that is okay. All right. One at a time, right? So I'll tell you how it works. So I'll take you to the process. So this is just an analysis. I'll tell you how the process works. All right. So duration, what we have seen is on an average, it was 45 to 50 minutes of time. So yes, there have been instances where the entire duration went till 1 hour also. So you'll have to be at least prepared for 45 to 15 minutes of 50 minutes of on an average duration for the interview. So please keep all your backups like a power backup or internet backup at least for 1 hour of duration. Okay, on an average we have seen 45 to 50 minutes, but I'm advising you to keep it a little bit more. That's about the duration. Platform, they have been using a specific platform. So it's called as AMCAT SmartMeet. Okay, so most of the cases, what we have seen, they have been using a specific platform called as AMCAT SmartMeet. So you do not have to worry about this particular platform if you do not know anything. So it is similar to your Cisco WebEx or Google Hangouts. So the tools and all will be similar, but I would anyway advise you to have a look at the platform. So if you just Google AMCAT SmartMeet and go to the YouTube videos or go to the images part, you'll be getting a lot of images and YouTube's videos related to the interface of how it works. Okay, so you can just get to know how the platform works. It is very important, guys, to know the platform. I'll tell you why in the coming up slides. All right, so there were cases where people were asked to do some things with the chat box. Okay, so in the coming up slides, I'll tell you why exactly they were asked to do that. So platform, knowing the platform becomes really important for you. So please try knowing the platform. I'll just repeat the name of the platform, AMCAT SmartMeet. All right. Now, Tarpan, to answer your question, not everybody has got the mails. Some of them have got the mails to the interview. Some of them have got the results. Most of them have not got the results itself. So not to worry, you'll be getting it. It'll happen in a slow and steady fashion. So last analysis is technical specification. So how should be a computer, or how good should be our internet speed? So a minimal speed was seen like 512 kbps, so 1 MB max is good enough. Anything more than that is obviously good enough. OS, anything it supports. So the platform supports any OS. So that should not be a problem. So please keep checking your mail. So they'll tell you how exactly you're supposed to go about with this particular platform, the AMCAT SmartMeet platform. All right. Hanuman, the exam has already finished, so I don't think there is a chance for you to appear now. So I hope I've answered your question, Hanuman. Hemant, to answer your question, how many will they recruit this year? Even Cognizant, I don't think it is clear enough right now, because they have not finished circulating the dates for interview itself right now. So at the end, see, whoever has finished the interview, they have not got their results out then and there. Right, so it's not like, okay, you finish the interview, you'll get the results then and there. So they'll definitely take some more time until and unless they finish the interview for everybody. Right, so right now, if you ask me how many will they select, even I will not be in a situation. Even the company, I don't think they are in a situation to answer that question. All right. Sheetal, yes, speaking in English is yes, definitely compulsory. All right, so I hope I've answered that question. Raghava, I'll answer that question. So moving ahead to the other slides, I'll definitely answer that question. So Raghava, I'll answer that question. Shanmuga Priya, I'll be addressing related specific branches as well. So we have tried collecting information from various students and tried finding out what were the questions asked when it comes to different streams. So I'll also touch on that particular point, so you do not have to worry about it. Okay, Bhushan, as I told, certain results are already out, certain results are pending. So please be patient with that. Yep. Yes, Soumya, yes. Duration of the interview on an average 45 to 15 minutes. All right. Okay. Okay, this GenC is for 4.5 package, Parth. So good. Mark sheets are not required, Ian. So I hope I've answered that. So only two documents which are required is your resume and your a government ID proof. That's all. Yes, Balasurian, they will be giving specific time for every individual. So that's why I'm asking you to keep checking your mails. Tawfiq, there's nothing specific to be prepared about. So if you're, trying to concentrate on this workshop, I think that should suffice. I would not advise Shubha. I would not advise you to attend the interview via mobile phones. So please try using the systems. Yeah. So this is one point which I missed out. Thanks for bringing this up. So please try using the systems, guys, because most of the times the platform what we have seen is it creates a lot of mishap in mobile phones. Yeah. So please try avoiding mobile phones. Log in via systems if possible. Guru Nathan will be doing that. Just a minute. Cool. So let's go ahead with the next part. So what are the important topics that you're supposed to be prepared for when it comes to GenC interviews? So I think this is one more query what you might be having in your minds. So let's just try understanding that. So some of the concepts are like most of the concepts are related to the fundamentals of programming. So when I say fundamentals of programming, it includes everything from the basics, right? So be it your operators, looping statements, decision statements, pointers, arrays. Irrespective of what language is your forte, fundamentals of programming are required. So there have been instances where where people were asked to prove this also. So I told you there was something to be done related to the chat box, right? So I'll tell you what exactly it was. And apart from this, fundamentals of technical concepts. So when I say technical concepts, a lot of concepts will be included. For example, testing concepts. Okay, so if your project is related to something of testing sorts of or if your project was related to something of some algorithm, so that algorithm based questions were also seen to be asked. So this is not entirely related to programming language, it is related to technical concepts, right? So that is exactly why we have fundamentals of technical concepts put up over there. So what I would advise you is know your CVs. Okay, your resumes, your resume. So it's very, very important over here, guys. So moving ahead, I'll tell you that as well. So the next thing is the project and your resume. So that's what I was talking about. So 60% of the questions which were asked was based on your resumes. All right, so 60% of the questions which were asked were based on your resumes, and 40%, the remaining 40% of the questions, what we have analyzed so far is based on either your technical, specifications or your core specifications. So there was a question like, how will a civil student be able to crack this interview? So it's not like if you say that you do not know a certain specific language, they'll still, expect you to answer it. It's nothing like that. So when you do not have a coding around it, so it is obvious that you're not that well versed in coding. That is why you're getting this GenC interview, correct? So they'll definitely not try asking very vague questions related to coding or programming aspects. So you do not have to worry about it. So whatever you have done related to your project, so at least be familiar with that. All right. So even if it is a civil-based project, the panelists have been seen to ask the questions related to civil architecture or mechanical concepts, thermodynamics or aeronauticals, right? So any non-circuitry background also, if their project were pretty much interesting, they have started asking questions. All right. So please be prepared with what exactly the project was. I know that most of us, we will just do the project for namesake just to get some marks, but it's high time for you to get some insights on your projects, guys. All right. So 60 plus 40 is the thing what we are seeing. So 60% based on your resumes, 40% can be anything. Either it can be based on your technical skills or your core skills. All right. Next is current digital trends. So this was a common question for everybody, irrespective of what stream they belong to. So This basically is related to your AI, MLs, cloud computing, and a lot of things like this, right? So you'll have to be at least knowing what these things are. I'm not asking you to code for all these things, right? So you should at least be knowing what exactly is cloud computing, what exactly is AI MLs. Okay, so if not to answer a question, how can you code for this? You should at least be in a position to answer how they work, right? So there was a specific answer, question asked to one of the person who did not belong to a circuitry stream. So I'll tell you in the coming slides what the question was. So please be aware of the current digital trends that are going on. Okay, the digital trends, VR, AR, okay, augmented reality, virtual reality. So at least be familiar with these concepts. Right. So, okay, let's try answering some of the questions. Yeah, so Krishna Babu, yes, so there have been such questions. Lakshmana Kumar. See, so out of 10 cases, at least 9 cases, Lakshmana Kumar, they have asked the CV. So this workshop is based on the overall analysis what we have done. So you do not have to worry if they have not taken your CV. So because they've probably got it, right? So in the back end. So if they're asking, just keep it ready. So the things what you're supposed to keep ready are the 2 documents what I've told, your resume and your government ID proof. All right. So I think I've answered that question. Prashant, no. If I couldn't clear GenC next coding, will I be given a chance to? Yes, correct. So Abhirup had a question. I think most of the others who have come here also might be having this question. If you are not eligible for the GenC next wala interview, will there be still given a chance for you to get into the GenC interview? Yes. Okay, so this is of course a yes. So if you do not crack the GenC next interview that might happen, in some weeks or some months now, you will still be given a chance to get into GenC interview. So then I think this workshop would be handy. So yes, Abhirup, I hope I've answered your question. Hrithik, I probably missed your question, so can you just post it again? Krishna Prabhu, to answer your question, will they touch the core programming or the basic concepts? It all depends on your answers and your projects. Okay, so if you say that you're pretty good in core, they'll start asking questions related to core. If you say that you're pretty good in programming concepts, they'll start digging the programming concepts. All right. Yeah, Nandan, it'll happen soon. So it'll happen in various states. There's no specific cutoff as such. They have not disclosed the cutoffs. So whatever they are segregating, it is company confidential. Right? So out of confidence, they'll not be revealing it out. So Ashish, no, nobody will be able to say what the cutoff is. Yeah, important topics related to mechanical. So so there were instances where people were asked questions related to mechanical concepts as well. So one of the question was there was a scenario based question. This is a common scenario based question, and anybody can answer it. So when you are moving up ahead, which gear are you supposed to climb up top a road? Right. So it's a basic question which was asked. So yeah, they will not ask you very in-depth concepts related to any core. But yeah, it's better to be prepared. All right. Yes, Tanya, yes. Okay, to answer, okay, I'm repeating this again to answer most of the two famous spamming questions over here. When is the result going to be out? So it is going to happen, guys. Do not worry, it is happening a slow and steady fashion. Second spam question, what I can say is when are the interview dates? So interview dates are also going to be mailed. So please be patient. Keep checking your mails. So I would request you not to spam these two questions. Anything apart from these, please drop it in the chat box. Yeah, if you've Praveen Mohan, to answer your question, if you have included more than one projects, I would advise you to be prepared to answer the questions for both of these projects or any number of projects. What you put, all right? Cool. Right. So let's get into the very important thing, which I think most of you were told by the people who have finished the interview. Yes. So you're seeing it right over there. They have asked certain aptitude questions when it comes to GenC interviews. So you should not be in a position like, I have finished my cognitive assessment round. So should I still be prepared for aptitude? Yes, please be prepared for your aptitude questions. All right, so basic questions from percentages, time in work, or ratios and proportions. So questions like these, simple questions like these were asked in GenC interviews. In fact, there were certain interviews which I had uh, uh, observed from the students saying that there were only like major part of their interview went up in aptitude part. So there were like 15 at least 20 minutes for the other part. So the major part was in the aptitude. So please be prepared for aptitude questions also. So they have been asking aptitude questions to individuals. So please try keeping your knowledge safe. So do not forget all the formulas what you had you might have prepared on. Do not forget all the concepts what you might have prepared on. So please be prepared for answering aptitude questions. Okay, so this is one heads up what I'm giving over here. Kiran Gope, if I've mentioned C and Python in the previous CV and I want to remove C, will it be a wise decision? Kiran, I would not say that would be a wise decision because you're removing an entire language over there, right? So first up, if you are not clear with C, I don't think you should have put it over there. But now if you remove it, it would be like, okay, now I've got selected for the interview. I do not know C, so now I'm removing it. So that is what the image that will be portrayed for the interview. So I would not advise you to remove certain languages. All right. So small changes, if you want, we can make it if I'm not wrong. Should a non-CS student prepare for OOPS? Birup, it is always better to know more. So what I would advise you is till the day of your interview gets clear, you get the dates for your interviews, I would advise you to grasp as much knowledge as possible, even if you are from a non-CS background, a non-circuitry background. All right. So try having a look at all the fundamentals of programming. OOPS will also be the fundamentals of it, technical concepts, certain algorithms, and the current digital trends. All right. If you're not able to answer for the aptitude questions, it's obvious, right? So if you answer for the questions, there is a high chance for you to get selected. If you do not answer the questions, the chance slightly becomes lesser. So ultimately, what they are trying to understand over here is the rounds what you have cleared. So since it was a remote interview that had happened, the virtual interview that had happened, they just want to understand if you yourself have cleared the interviews or not, right? So there's a point of web proctoring also, which appears over here. So we have seen that the web proctoring pictures or the images which were captured during the interview, right? So they'll also be checking that during the interviews. During the examination, they'll also be checking that during the interviews. So if in case there were certain, unclear pictures or there were certain scope for malpractice related to the pictures, what has been captured by the web proctoring platform. So there were instances where people were asked questions related to this. All right. So you would have to answer this question. So be prepared to answer if you have if you are slightly off the frame or if you are slightly not able to spot your cameras or anything, any tech glitches that might have happened, please be ready to answer this question. So they'll ask justification related to web proctoring images. And also the essay writing questions, what you had seen, right? So the essay writing questions, we had told that they'll be asking questions related to this. Yes. So, but there have been very minimal cases related to this. All right. So the essay writing part, what you had written, the paragraph, what you had written. So please try to remember and recollect whatever you had written. So there have been questions, but very minimal cases. Not all will be asked, what exactly I've written in the email. I'm sorry, the essay writing. So tell me what it was. So nothing like that, but there were minimal cases, but it is always better to be prepared. All right. So be prepared for answering if there was any issue with your web proctoring, or also be prepared to answer if be prepared to answer for your paragraph writing. Right. So this is that. And cool. So let's get into the other things. So let's get into the meat of the recruitment. So the questions, so the literal questions what they were. So please be prepared with all these things, guys. So aptitude, it's a 100% assured one. So please be prepared for that. At least one aptitude question might be asked for you. So when I say aptitude, I include everything over here. Right. So your logical, cons, and verbal. So aptitude does not mean only cons. So be prepared for cons, logical and verbal part. Yeah, tech and HR will be combined, Pulkit. So the panelists will be asking tech and HR questions together. All right, so let's get into the questions now. So we'll see certain technical questions. We'll also see certain HR questions which were asked. So let's try understanding how it'll go about. Cool. So some of the questions related to technical, as I told, it was directly from your projects or whichever language you said that it was your forte, right? So that's about it. So what do you mean by cloud computing? I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this particular concept. So you would also have to be prepared, as I told, digital trends. Right, so cloud computing is one of the digital trends that is happening right now because of all the things that are virtual. So you'll have to be prepared with that. So what exactly is cloud computing? So if the processing happens via cloud, okay, cloud as in there will be a server which is in a very far distance, okay, a different geological location, and you'll be able to operate, you'll be able to process certain things using that particular server. Right, so it's ultimately related to a server or a computer, but which is in a different geological location. Right, so that's cloud computing. Next, what is parallel processing? So these were certain questions which are most frequently asked. So of course there were other questions as well, but I've tried picking the questions which are most frequently asked. So cloud computing, parallel processing. So parallel processing basically it's like you've got let's say you have 8 GB of RAM in your laptop, and the processor is very low. All right, so you'll be needing much more RAM. I'm giving simple examples over here. So let's say you've got 8 GB RAM in your computer, and the processing capacity what is required for a certain software or a website is let's say it is 64 GB of RAM. But will you be able to do that? Yes, of course. But you would need a lot of RAMs and technical things to be fixed to your computer, and you'll need to modify your computer for that. So instead of doing that, there's a concept called as parallel processing. So what happens is you can people can share their processes. All right, so I can share my processor, which will have, let's say, 8 GB of RAM capacity, and similarly 8 such people, if they share their RAMs, right, so their processors, so there'll be 64 GB of capacity, and this can be used to operate the software which runs at that particular capacity. So this is called as parallel processing. So the processing will happen parallelly in all the computers, so that is why the name. Right, so this is related to parallel processing. So they have not asked a lot of in-depth questions related to this. So you would have to be just knowing the peripherals. Okay, one more question over here is, can pointers have the same name? So this is one more common question what we had seen over here. Can pointers have the same name? Can anybody give me the answer for this particular question? Hari Krishna, to answer your question, will that be a problem? That should not be a problem. So probably during the interviews, fingers crossed you get selected. So they might ask you to, spot your documents. So please be prepared for that. All right. So can pointers have the same name? So you cannot have it over there. So why I'm saying this is because there will be ambiguity created because the reference value stored has to be different, right? So pointers, they cannot have the same name. So please be prepared to answer such basic questions. So pointers, I understand that it is only related to lower level languages like C, C++, Java, Python, Perl, Scala and all. You'll not be able to explicitly work on pointers. But please be prepared for such questions as well. All right, so this is one. Testing concepts. Okay, so most common what we had seen again is testing concepts. So testing concepts is like what is black box testing, what is white box testing, what is certain attacks like brute force attacks. Okay, so testing and attack concepts were also asked. So this was just to check how good you are in terms of your technical knowledge. Okay, so if you say that, okay, I'm not familiar with this, it should not be a problem. But anyway, the chances of you getting selected to the interview will slightly decrease, right? So if you're familiar with such basic concepts, right? So I think it should anyway be okay to crack this particular interview. All right. So that's about the testing concepts. Next up, yeah. So I was saying that there was a digital question, like the trending digital topic question asked for a non-circuitry background student, right? So this is one of the questions which was asked. So do you know how Alexa works? Is the question which was asked. So the person was basically from a non-circuitry background. So they have asked such questions as well. So you should be at least in a position to answer, like, it's a common sense that when we speak, okay, so what happens? The AI detects it, or the hardware detects our voice. So obviously there'll be something called as voice recognition. So based on the voice recognition pattern, it'll be able to do the searches, and once it searches via its own search engine, Alexa search engine, it'll be able to get back the results. And via the results, again, there'll be certain options given, like which one do you want to play, or which one do you want to get next. So again, we'll be saying certain answers. Again, it'll recognize a voice. So basically, it'll work on sensors, voice recognition capabilities, and AIs. Okay, machine learning and AIs. So at least this, if you are able to say over there, right? So you should not. I mean, they're not expecting you to get into the depth. So what code they have used, what is the algorithm they have used. They're not asking you to go in depth. So at least this, if you're able to answer, so I think you should be in a pretty good chance of getting hired over there. All right. So questions will not be displayed through the chat box. So you'll be asked the questions via panelist, right? So you'll have the panelist talking there. The questions will not be displayed through the chat box when it comes to normal questions. Okay, but when it comes to coding questions, yes, so I have that. So next question, what I was most frequently asked is difference between arrays and linked list. Right, so basic concepts. So data structures, if you're not familiar with non-circuitry background, so just try getting familiarized with concepts like linked list. Data structure, there are a lot of concepts, linked list concepts, trees, graphs. So these are basic concepts. If you watch certain videos, I think videos of 10-15 minutes, at least the basics you'll be able to understand. So array basically will have the value stored, and it will not have any reference attached to one particular node or one particular box, what you can visualize, right? But when it comes to linked list, your reference values and the the values will be stored adjacent to each other, right? So that's the common difference in the basic of the basic way in which I can answer, right? Kirudika, to answer your question, yes, there were puzzles asked in the interviews. Common puzzles were asked. So yeah, so somebody were asking about chat box, right? So when it comes to Josh, yeah, SQL, if you have got it in your project, yes, SQL is also important. All right. So coding questions were asked, guys. Okay, so now this is to check the debugging ground what you had gone through. So just to understand if you have clear-cut understanding of the basics of the coding concepts, right? So coding questions were also asked. So I'll tell you two different scenarios of two different people. So one scenario was wherein the panelist dropped certain snippets in the chat box, and the candidate was asked to answer if the output is true or false, or what will be the output of this particular snippet. So this was one particular scenario. The second scenario was wherein the candidate was asked to type the code in the chat box for a particular question. All right, so the question differed over here from candidate to candidate, but the questions were pretty much easier. For example, the questions were check for palindrome, or how do you check for if the string is equivalent, right? So a very basic questions were asked. So if you're not able to write the entire code, at least try to convince them with the snippets or the pseudo codes at least. Okay, so that is one heads up what I'm giving you. So coding questions were seen to be asked, like out of 10 cases, I can say at least 8 to 7 cases coding questions were asked. So be prepared with that. So fundamentals are very important over here. So they're not asking you to share the screen, but they're asking you to put the code in the chat box. Okay, so this is why I told you platform. Knowing the platform is really important. So if you do not know where exactly the chat box is, if you do not know how to access the chat box, you will be portrayed as a fool over there, right? So please do not try to try to know the platform, guys. So that's ultimately what I'm asking over here. So let's try answering some of your questions. Hashing anyway is an algorithm. So yeah, sorry. Hashing, salting, yeah. So these are algorithms. I have not seen such questions being asked, but if you are interested, you can anyway prepare on that. You have 3 projects. Okay, Nagraj has 3 projects on ML. Will it give an overhead over another students? Okay, so the level of projects what you've got should not be a problem, or it's not the criteria over here. But what will matter is the project what you've put up over there. Are you able to answer questions related to it? So even if it is the simplest project, that should not be a problem. But are you able to answer questions related to it is the ultimate question. So I hope I've answered that question over there. Yeah, you can apply your currently working project also. So if you're, updating your resume and putting your currently working project, so what you can do is you can say that this is your new project, and you can put a star and you can put a disclaimer saying that, okay, this is ongoing, something like that, right? So, but you should be prepared for those questions as well. All right, so Kalyan 2020, the question of applying does not appear over here because the assessments have already finished. So I hope I've answered those questions, Kalyan. Questions, yeah. So Sriram, matrix is basically a very simple question. So matrix questions may be asked. At least the logic of a matrix question can be asked. All right. If you haven't done any projects, you should not be in a you should not fret about it. So it's okay if you have not done projects also. So ultimately, I'm saying that if you have done projects, please be familiar with the questions related to it. All right, that's about that. Civil students. All right, so okay, now let's get into the stream wise. So first up, mechanical. I had told you one question, right? The scenario based question. So please be prepared for practical knowledge related to any of the streams. Apart from these, civil, yeah, there were core questions asked related to civil. So it's obvious that anybody can ask questions related to any stream now, specifically when it comes to when you have a Google in front of you, right? So if you say that you're from this particular stream, there have been questions related to civil. So trust concept was asked, if I'm not wrong, when it comes to civil. Trust, I think it's common to mechanical and civil and architecture, if I'm not wrong. So that was one common question what I had seen. Puzzles, yeah, puzzles were also asked. Puzzles were like common puzzles. Like I cannot say that this will be the pattern when it comes to puzzles, because they can ask any puzzles out of the blue. So simple questions that at least they were. Okay, please don't try to remove the project what you have already attached, Ranjita. So that will be a very bad thing to do. So try doing minuscule changes. If you have to add anything, that is always good. Try doing minimal changes when it comes to removal of things. Okay, Nancy, to answer your question, will you be getting time before the interviews, like at least 2 to 3 days? Of course, yes. But what we have seen is 1 or 2 days max is what we have seen before the interview. So if the interview is held up on Tuesday, I'll probably getting the mail today. All right. So that's why I'm asking you to keep checking your mails. Yeah, Punit Sharma, yes, there have been questions, aptitude questions. Platform, what we have seen is AMCAT SmartMeet. So please be familiar with the platform. Triple E students, so I don't think I've come across any Triple E students, but what I would advise you is be prepared with the basic concepts what you have prepared. All right, so electrical and electronics engineering. So be prepared with the basic. What is the difference between electrical and electronics? So why do you have a different branch for electrical? Why do you call it you have a different branch for electronics? So this is one question I think which I had heard. Apart from this, no like strong core questions were asked. Basically questions from project Priya. All right. Viji 2020, no, so far they have not announced for 2020 pass outs. If they will, we'll be updating in our channels. Yeah, correct. Vignesh, I've answered mechanical, so you can just go back. SmartMeet, they'll tell you how exactly you're supposed to go about. So yeah, you can see the mail and you can see it. What are the eligible courses? Is it for fresher? I'm not able to understand your question, Navin Kumar. Well, so let's go about with the HR questions which were asked. So let's try answering the questions related to HR. Okay, before I go, again, there were spams related to when the results will be out, when the drives dates will be out. So you just have to keep calm, guys. You'll definitely be getting your dates. So both the people, I mean, like who are spamming questions related to interview dates and your results, you'll be getting it. Okay, it's happening in a slow and steady fashion. Right. So EC. Okay. See, I'll not get into. To be frank, I'll not get into all the streams, guys. So basically, what I would advise you over here is related to any of the streams. So EC or any other streams, or be it architecture also. So what I would advise you is be prepared on the basic concepts, just like what I've given you an example now, right? So they'll be expecting you to have practical knowledge related to your stream. So they'll not be asking pure questions like define this particular formula from field theory, nothing like that, right? So you'll have to be pretty much good with your practical knowledge. So Pragya, we'll go about with the HR questions. Cool. So the most common thing what you'll have to be prepared for is introduce yourself or tell me about yourself. So there were questions like tell me something about yourself that is not there in your resume. All right, so you'll have to be prepared for such questions as well. So if you feel that, okay, whatever I am, I have put in your resume, that is not true because you have known yourself from like what? Past 20, 21 years at least, right? So you will have to try understanding yourself and try answering this particular question. So when it comes to answering tell me about yourself questions, the optimum time duration I would give you is at least try answering for a minute. Most of the students, they'll not be able to answer even for 20-30 seconds. Do not do that. So at least try preparing for answering at least for 1 minute. But if you ask me, the best way to crack this particular question is do not stop answering until and unless the panelist intervenes in between, right? Because you'll know a lot of things about you guys. All right, so you'll know a lot of things about you. So to specifically answer about this question, do not stop until and unless the HR asks you, okay, fine, let's go to the next question. So you'll have to keep on speaking. But if you're not able to do that, I would advise you to go at least for 1 minute of duration. All right, so that's to answer this question. Introduction would be based on tech, HR, or both. As you said, tech and HR will be combined. Okay, so Abhishek, to answer your question, so introduce yourself can be asked by anybody, right? So it can be asked by, so if there's only one panelist, he'll be taking up your technical and HR. So he might ask this basic question in the beginning itself. Or this is most of the cases, like we have seen that this question is asked in the beginning itself. So please be prepared for this particular question. Platform is AMCAT SmartMeet. Next, scenario-based questions. So scenario-based questions are like, see, for example, there was one particular scenario where they had asked, okay, now assume that you are entering Cognizant. So this was the actual question which was asked, guys. Assume that you are entering Cognizant and you're given a project. All right, so the project is of huge budget. It's like 2 CR or 3 CR turnover, and you're having 5 people under you. All right, so you're basically like the project manager over there. So all of a sudden, all these 5 people who are working under you, they'll decide not to work for you, and they do not want to talk to you as well. So how will you handle this situation, right? So situation based questions or scenario based questions seem to be asked, and this can be anything. So the HR can, it all depends on the mood of the panelist. So if he's in a very good mood, he might ask you very good scenarios. If he's slightly in a fatigue mode, he might ask you questions related to certain tricky scenarios. So whenever you answer scenario based question, there should be one thing in common, that you should not portray yourselves to be a person who is towards a negative virtue, right? So you should always try portraying yourselves to be in a positive virtue. So in this particular scenario also, which I had told you, right? So you are heading a project, and you are heading a project of very huge budget. You have certain people working under you, so they do not want to talk to you, they do not want to work under you. So how will you answer this question? What you can say is, okay, first, sir, I'll try understanding what went wrong. Okay, so if they are not able to talk to me, so I'll always have a medium through which I can make them say certain things which went wrong. For example, I'll have my higher up, so I'll try talking to my higher up. I'll try asking my higher up to ask the team members to answer the questions whichever I need. Then if it is relevant to my mistakes, I'll try to implement the things which are required to rectify all these mistakes. All right, so if it is not my mistake, then I'll anyway try making them understand, okay, so this is what went wrong, so furthermore we'll try as a team to rectify all these mistakes, right? So when you try answering this such scenario based questions, right, so do not directly say that, okay, so I'll try talking to them. If they do not want to talk to them, I'll not talk to them. So it's like upfront, right? So do not be upfront. So try explaining as much as possible. Try being elaborate when it comes to scenario based questions. So English is very much important. So please do not keep a medium anything apart from that. Sheetal, I hope I answered that question. So next thing is, do you think you work hard? Elaborate. So there were questions related to hard work and smart work, or do you think you work hard? Elaborate. So here, how you can answer this particular question is, you can give examples of wherever you have prepared. Like, for example, you might have prepared for certain competitions, or you might have prepared for Cognizant Interview itself, being from a non-circuitry background. So whenever you get a chance to answer these questions, right, so you should take a full-fledged opportunity to answer. Even if you're from a mechanical background, you got selected for, let's say, the interview. So you should take this opportunity to answer in a full-fledged, like how you had prepared, okay, how you had worked hard. Okay, so you can slightly be creative in answering such questions. Next question is, project internship based questions, core questions. So so this is basically where they'll be asking the core based questions. So apart from technical questions, when you say your project, they'll be asking core questions. So the core question, again, as I told, it will be pretty much simple. You do not have to worry about, okay, will they ask any specific formula related to any specific language or subject? So you do not have to worry about that. So it'll be peripheral and practical oriented. So please be practical oriented when it comes to project and core based questions. Okay, this question was also seen to answer your question, Anusha. So why choose IT being from a non-circuitry background? So you will have to answer this question in a very diplomatic way. So you cannot directly say that, okay, I have very less chance in non-circuitry field, so that's why I'm switching into IT field. So that is an actual fact upfront, but you cannot be that blunt, right? So you can always say, if your passion has been, IT from the beginning, but because of certain circumstances, you were not able to get into IT and you wanted to get into the non-IT field, you can try putting that up front. Or you can also say that I'm a person who wants to keep updating with the world. And as the world is being updated more towards the virtual environment, or towards the IT fields you wanted to get into, that, or you can always say certain facts like this, right? Uh, how long will it take to learn for new technology? To answer Gayatri's question, so new technology, as in you're being very general over there. Lots of things are there related to new technology, correct? So if you take one particular concept, you might spend your entire lifetime for that. For example, MLAIs, you can spend your entire lifetime for that, or related to one particular programming language or one particular concept, you can spend entire lifetime for that. But what I would advise you is just try Googling what are the recent trends. If you ask me, the recent trends are MLAIs, AR, VRs, cloud computing, parallel processing, testing parameters, attacks, and certain malwares. Then apart from these, the digital trends would be remote working processes. So how is remote working process happening? Yeah, so that should be pretty much it. So try brushing up on all these things. So I hope I've answered such questions. Next, current trends in the industry. Yeah, so why Cognizant is again one of the most frequently asked questions when it comes to HR. So one question was why IT, right? So this is one more question, why Cognizant? So you should be at least familiar with their financial aspects, or what are their, every company will be having a tagline, or they'll be having their motive, which will run for at least 3 or 4 lines, right? So you can get into their websites, try Googling things out, or I think you have been given a credential for the Cognizant, the platform, if I'm not wrong, right? So there are intro videos, if I'm not wrong, 2 or 3 intro videos. Just have a look at those intro videos, guys. They have tried explaining what exactly you have that they are trying to do when it comes to Cognizant. So just try having a look at those intro videos. I think that should at least give you a brief idea why Cognizant and why you should get in there. Yeah, Vijay, yes. If you have done projects related to Java, yes. So anything your project is related to, please be familiar with that. That's all I'm asking. Yes, you need to share your CV, Joydeep. Yeah, Anish, yeah, you can definitely steer your interviews. Yeah, rightly asked. So Anish is asking, I've done certain projects related to MLAIs. So can I steer my interview towards that and not aptitude questions? So it all depends on the HR's mindset, probably, Anish. But if you want to steer yourself, yes, you can do that. Saying that, okay, I'm not so comfortable, pretty much comfortable, specifically when it comes to such anxious situation of interview to solve aptitude questions. But any questions related to MLAIs where I have done the project, I'll be able to answer it. So if you can say this, I think you can steer your interview around your project. But again, having said that, when you say that any question related to my project, I'll be able to answer, you should be able to answer. Again, over there, if you get stuck, then that is a backfire. All right. Okay, GitHub profiles and all, they're not asking too much, but if you have it, that's great. So you can share your screen and you can anyway roll out all those things. Okay. The job profile is not confirmed yet. So what they have told is they have split it into 2 packages, GenC and GenC Next. So GenC is for 4.5 package and GenC Next is for higher package. So obviously it will be for certain criteria based projects. So GenC will be of a slightly lesser criteria based project, and GenC Next for a higher criteria based project. All right. Yeah, you can do that, Meher Teja, but please tell the interview that you've modified. What are your weakness and strengths? So this was one of the question which was asked by Lakshmi. All right. So Lakshmi, to answer your question over here, what is okay? This was also asked pretty much in most of the interviews. So what are your strengths and weaknesses? What are your weaknesses and how are you trying to rectify them? So again, when it comes to such questions, right? So please do not portray your weaknesses very high in number. It's common fact, right? So if you have weaknesses, of course it's okay to tell your weakness, but do not keep your weaknesses very high in number. For example, if you say 3 or 4 strengths, keep your weakness at least for 1 or 2. Okay, do not cross your number of weaknesses to number of strengths. And if you have any weaknesses, when you tell your strengths, you can always go ahead in explaining where you have tried where you have tried implementing this particular strength of yours. When you tell your weaknesses, you should give explanation of how you are planning on overcoming all these weaknesses. Okay, for strength, it is not mandatory that you tell that, okay, fine, I'm trying to boost my strengths furthermore and so and so. It's not mandatory, but if you have any plan, you can say that. But when it comes to weaknesses, I would definitely advise you to tell the panelist, okay, this is my weakness and I'm planning on overcoming this, and how am I planning on overcoming this. For example, one weakness can be I have a fear of public speaking and I get nervous. All right. So you can tell the panels like, okay, I'm trying to get into a lot of speaking workshops. Okay, so a lot of speaking workshops are there worldwide. So it is happening virtual now. So you can try answering like that. So please giving an explanation of how you're planning on overcoming the weaknesses. All right. So that's about that. How to answer the question if they do not, if we do not know the concept what they're asking. Okay, fine. So Gayatri, to answer your question, so if you are right, so if you are not okay in answering any of the things what the HR asks or the panelist asks over there, you cannot just right upfront say no, I do not know the answer. Right, so you'll at least have to elaborate why you do not know the answer, and you'll have to come up with a backup answer saying that what else can you answer related to it. Right, so you cannot just say that, okay, I do not know this answer, sir, I'm sorry. You cannot do that. For example, let's say there is a question asked about testing parameters to a person who does not know anything related to testing. So you cannot say that, okay, sir, I do not know anything about testing. Please do not ask me the questions like that. That's very rude. Okay, be polite as much as possible. Be diplomatic as much as possible. So you can say that, sir, even at least if you know certain names for whatever I've taken in this particular workshop, right? So white box testing, black box testing. So say that, okay, so these are the names I've known so far, sir. I've tried, digging up certain things related to one of it. That can be like white box testing. So in this particular testing, what happens is they'll try to test the background codes as well as the interfaces. So you can say whatever you have prepared or whatever you have Googled, right? So that should suffice, but do not directly say that I do not know the answers. So that's about it. Some basic questions, Pulkit. What can I ask related to at the end of the interview? So if the panelist does not ask you to, the panelist does not ask, do you have any questions from me? Do not just go up front and say, sir, I have some questions for you. Do not just say that. So only if the panelists ask, okay, do you have any questions for me? Then you can go about with asking the panelist questions like whatever you had posted over here, right? So what will be the job profile? What will be, how will the Cognizant environment be? Or any particular question you have, you can just drop it over there. All right. Location, no, they have not told anything. They have mentioned that we pick those who can unlearn and relearn. It is super important to have these qualities in an email. What are the possible questions regarding this and how to approach? Cool. Mohammed Tawfiq, to answer your question, so unlearn and relearn. So basically, that should give you a hint to that even if you are from a non-IT or a non-circuitry background, you should be able to learn things pretty quickly, right? So the qualities what they'll be looking in you is, are you a quick learner? So that is what basically they're checking when it comes to Wipros and all that. Sorry, when it comes to puzzles and all that. So yeah, that's to answer your question over there. Good. So now at the end, as bonus, basic puzzles were also asked. So be prepared for basic puzzles. Aptitude questions I've anyway told you. Apart from these, as a last, things or what I want you guys to remember is, so please remember about the documents, whatever I told, I'll just repeat it. So please be having a resume. So if you're updating it, say the HR that you're updating it, then you're attaching it. Then the next document that you'll be requiring is your government ID proof. So most of the cases they've asked these two. There were certain cases where they've not asked these two. So you do not have to worry if they've not asked these two. All right, so that's about the document. Know the platform. The platform name is AMCAT SmartMeet. Most of the cases they have taken interview in AMCAT SmartMeet. So please be prepared with the knowing the platform, because chat screen and all, you'll have to be pretty much clear. That is where the codes will be asked to drop. Next is no rescheduling will be done was maintained in certain mails. So please keep checking your mails, guys. Okay, I'm repeating this for like I don't know how many number of times. Please keep checking your mails just like you check your WhatsApp or Instas as soon as you wake up. Garo Vipro dates have not been announced, so please stop spamming. Tech setups, power, internet, very important. At least have a backup for 1 hour. Okay, when it comes to power and internet backups, know your CVs or resumes. Very important, highly necessary. So 60% of the questions will be based from your resumes. The 40% remaining will be based from your core concepts or your technical concepts. Next thing is fundamentals of everything. So why I put everything is over here, because they're basically asking everything that is possible if you're comfortable with that particular concept, right? So you'll have to be pretty much good in everything. Please keep checking your mails. So that's about it, guys. So people who have not got the drive dates, you will be getting it. All right. So do not worry about people who have not got the results. You will also be getting it. Do not worry about that. And I hope I was able to cover a lot of things over here. So that's pretty much it, guys. Package is 4.5, Anvesh, after probation. And yeah, one more last thing. The internships. So there's a compulsory internship what Cognizant had posted when it comes to the pre-placement talks, right? So after you crack the drives, you'll have to go through the internships, right? So there were questions asked by students with the panelists. So when is the internship going to happen? How exactly it will happen? So what they've told is we will let you know about this. So again, nobody has a particular information related to internship after the drive. But yes, if you get selected through the interview, there'll definitely be an internship, and they'll tell you how about to proceed with it. All right. The interview dates will be sent at least 1 or 2 days prior to the interview. So please keep checking your mails. Yes, you need to share your CV, Monica. CGPA criteria, no, they've not mentioned anything. GenC next. Okay, GenC next. Again, the dates have not been confirmed. Off campus, again, dates have not been confirmed. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Cool. So I think I've answered most of the questions here. All the best, guys. Do well. So do not worry too much. So even if you're not from a circuitry background, because you can anyway steer the interview towards whatever you know. Speaking politely and saying that, okay, so since I'm not from this particular background, you can start asking questions related to the core background, right? So all the best. Do well, and yeah, I hope everybody who has attended this particular workshop gets selected. Okay. Have a great day ahead, guys. Bye. Take care.